Today I'm obviously on fire and I want to talk about fertility and transness some more and about conspiracy theories. Anyway, I'm Ruiva Zmajoki, a sci-fi writer, and I said about fertility it's a great loss for a trans person to lose their fertility and to pay that price for their transition. But I said I think that J.K. Rowling is androphobic and not transphobic, and her fear from men stems her ideas that are hurtful for trans community. And I disagree with her with most of points, but I don't want to dismiss her fears as nothing, because all phobias are grounded in reality and stem from something, from concern, from anger, from justified something that turns into a fear that you cannot control and you think that will shape the world. Phobia is a thing I'm familiar with because I do have phobia before dogs and I seek for help, and now I can walk past a dog without running into a lake and into over the creek or jumping the fence or anything. And it's nice. I can go out and take a stroll through a woods, knowing that I will meet a dog and being cautious about it, but knowing that I will be able to pass that dog without squealing or having an urge to jump, climb a tree. And today I had an interaction with a dog, a huge shepherd dog. Thought friendly that I'm a person he can approach to and greet, and it was such a long time since the dog did that. They are all usually smart enough to know to just pass by me and not look at me as I don't look at them. And I frozen, like it was like and his owners were like, no, stand down, and he went away like a good dog he is. And I passed through feeling good about myself because I expressed fear. And it was a thing when I was young that I was told that I never must show my fear to dogs because they will sense it and they will attack me. And now you can see where my phobia stems from, because my mother shares the same phobia and her father shares the same phobia, and he has had good reasons to have that phobia, because during the Second World War, while the grenades fell around them, a dog went mad in his unit and attacked his friend and killed him before his eyes. So phobia of dogs in our family has a reason. My grandfather, I will probably speak of him more. Anyway, and that's the reason for our family phobia. And I constantly am aware that not all dogs will go mad and not all dogs are bad dogs. Most dogs are good dogs, and I can pass by them without jumping into a creek. And I'm quite proud of that, but that's work, that's progress, that's there were years that I would scan my surroundings for a dog, and if I would see a dog in a distance, I would circle around the block to avoid the dog so I don't approach it more than 15 yards. It's a very limiting thing to live with a phobia, because you are constantly restricted, and I can't demand from the world to leash their dogs, for dogs to never to run free, for dogs to disappear, because people love dogs and people have them constantly, and I adore walking, and whenever I walk I will meet a dog. And so I wouldn't be closed in my house. I dealt with my fear and I got it under control. But with phobias that involve people, most humans don't seek for help. They don't even admit that they are afraid. They have the similar thing that I was taught. So don't ever admit that you are afraid. Like, fear is a shameful thing to fear, to feel that you can't, that you're lesser somehow because you fear something. And fear towards men, I feel that fear too. I was brought up as a woman, and to raise a woman without warning her that some men can be dangerous and that you can get in a tricky situation where you will get hurt and injured is silly. But to say that all men are not to be trusted, and to shape the world, to make all men restricted, and to make boundaries so you would feel safe, I don't know. It's a hard thing to accomplish, because from the outside you can't say which men are bad and which men are good. You just have to do what I do with dogs, walk past them and not show fear. It's a terrible advice. But we call prejudice towards people phobias. We say homophobia, we say transphobia. But we don't do that with race. We say racism. It's nice, not race phobia. It's not black phobia. And in a way, it seems to me that using the word phobia both excuses and reinforces the people for garnering those views and not seek help and not rectify. But to say that, it's probably quite frightening for people who have that phobia, because when you have a phobia, it feels real. It feels like the danger is there, like any dog can attack you and go for your throat, for your hands, and disfigure you. And it's probably that for people with homophobia. They fear that something bad will happen to them if they accept the reality of people who are not like them, people who they were taught by religion are inherently evil and will go to hell. Religion, anyway. And transphobia, I think, to people who can't relate to, who are well adjusted to their gender, is probably frightening, because no one is perfectly woman and a perfectly man. And I think the fear stems from the opinion that they can be pointed at, it's said, from the outer authority, that they are not men enough and women enough, and then they need to transition. I think that fear grows when they see that young children are being reassigned by therapists, and that their parents are participating in that decision. And I understand that fear. But what I'm saying is, in a case of trans people, I would much rather like to see the society change, and for the scary phobic people to be warned of and to be said no, stand down, and for world to change, for gender to become less strict and less demanding and less guarded, so the people can feel free in it. So because this way I feel that we are going into the direction, I will say it like this: you can have a stance that gender is not real, and you can have a stance that gender is real. And more trans people have a stance that the gender is real, just like straight people have, cis people probably have the stance that the gender is real. One say you have to stay in your gender, and others say you have to be allowed to leave your gender. So when you have a stance that gender is not real, you offend the both parties, because you devaluate, diminish the life they base on gender. And when I was younger, I was eager to say that I don't believe in gender, and I'm still not really convinced. But life experience taught me that people feel confident, and that the gender is not just set of rules. It's a direction, it's a map of how you live your life, with whom you connect on which way, and it shapes your life in more than one direction, and it really is something that for people who fit in the gender makes the life easier. Okay, you will make friends with that woman, but you will not be friends with that man. You will go shopping for clothes at that hour, but you will not go to gym at that night. And you have the whole roadmap how you should live and make decisions. And I understand that people need those maps and those guides to make their lives easier to navigate. Still, if you just say the gender is real and not question it at all, I feel that trans people are paying the price for the gender structures that straight people went on board with the trans issues, and that there are very many people, straight allies are very enthusiastic to encourage and to support and to be there for trans people. But sometimes it feels like it's just a way to preserve two houses of gender, to preserve the way the gender is presented, the way the gender is experienced and lived. And I hate to see a group of people that is such underprivileged, like trans people, paying the price for the society to keep things as they are without questioning them, without changing them, without thinking about how boys are encouraged to ridicule women, to laugh at them, to poke them when they are small boys, and you wonder when they grow up why they don't respect women. How girls are hearing constantly that running like a girl, like being a girl used as an insult to boys, for many other things that just are so prevalent. But without them, people feel like they don't have protection. Like J.K. Rowling feels like women will lose their protection if they share their gender with trans women. And it's like when baby is born and they tell you to put it in a small tub and confinement because it feels safe to feel the borders. It feels like the baby feels like they are still in the tummy. And the borders give people sense of safety, and I understand that they need to be there, and I am not adamant to ruin the borders and to uh, tramp on gender. But for any state not to become a prison like we can see in communist party countries, how prison states looks like, and it's scary. And I lived in one once when I was till I was 9. So to prevent that from happening, you have to let people through. You have to let people go, try, and go back again. Without it, we are all in prison. So you don't have to leave your gender. You don't have to transition. And you can try how it feels like to be on the other side. And it's not something that should be prohibited, that should be looked upon with such strange fascination. I don't know. Anyway, it's just a roundabout how I would like for society to change for the better for trans people, because I don't want for trans people to be the sole people who are paying the price of gender. And that's it. To all J.K. Rowlings of the world who are worried for young people who that might transition without really wanting it, to fight for the gender roles to be a bit modified. So if it's easier for people to try another gender, to try something new without instantly having to prove their right to be there, the pressure to pass, the pressure to reinsert themselves, to affirm that they belong in this new gender. Anyway, I just think people should be able to try things without being able obligated to buy them. When you go into a shop, you take a shirt and you try it on before you buy it. And for trans people to know before their journey began, will they like it or not, and is that really for them or not, with charity, is too much to ask. And we shall see how things develop. Bye. See you on the other side.